Trying to get our zoom back in place. Okay. Now the scenario instructions, I never read these things if they make sense. So for example, in the Brigade series, and actually I think OCS as well, I found myself saying, what do they mean, and because some of the notation used in them forced me to go and look at these. In this game, everything has made sense so far in terms of setup, so I never looked, but down at the bottom of this, not called out in any way, is an explanation of the scenarios. So, hey, number one is a complete, short, and playable scenario. I have to say yes, except I'm still not sure I believe they're siege rules. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a chance to test them out in that because the second one is the introductory scenario. Now, this is sad because they note in it that they've removed the Spanish and Venetian troops from this scenario in order to make it more of a learning game. I really wish there had been a full scenario for this because this looks like a really exciting situation if it was done as the full campaign. Instead, what we've got is a 4-turn scenario that doesn't use the siege rules. The situation is such that the Sforzas, who've been backed up by the Swiss, are basically being under attack from the French. And the whole campaign would be a very interesting thing from my point of view. This one, though, has very simple victory conditions. The French are just out to take Novara, or either side wins by winning a major battle. And that's it. Okay, well, we'll see. There are no action points in this scenario. You have an unlimited supply of them. There are supply sources. I don't know what the hell those matter terribly much. I guess you could conceivably cut someone off from their line of communication, but without action points, who cares? Okay. The French army starts here under Edmund March, 1 Capitan General, and a bunch of other troops. I think I had, yeah. Trivulzio has to have forces. You know what? I had one too many for this. I'd rather centralize my forces into a couple of commands. That way, if I get into a skirmish somehow, I have a decent-sized force that fights in it automatically, or something like that. I don't know. I'm really not sure. The skirmish situation, because you randomly picked the general in a meeting engagement, means that, hey, do you want, to balance your forces out so that no matter what, if you hit somebody with something decent? Or do you want to put a little, turkey out there with no strength points, basically, who you can sacrifice if he comes up, but you automatically win the battle, or you have a good chance of winning the battle? Basically, if the other guy splits his forces evenly, you get to bring the heavier force in, or you give a sacrifice. Well, in this case, I don't have much choice. These two have to be assigned to Trivulzio at the beginning of the scenario, and given that, I probably want you. I'm not sure that you want a lot of forces. The one disadvantage, we'll have to see how how the deployment plays out of a multi-commander force in the major battles. That's something I don't really know. I think I understand the rules, but I don't really know how that's going to play out. And this is what this scenario is going to do. It forces you probably into a major battle. We got some breakdown units. Okay, the Swiss start off with a couple commanders over here at Novara. Remember, that's the goal of the game. I had to roll to see who's the Capitano General, and out of those. Unfortunately, I rolled first out of all the generals because that's what it seems to indicate. It says here, Capitano General, see special rules. So I go see the special rules, and that sends me over to the Swiss rules, which is basically, whenever you're in a situation, let's read it specifically because it is kind of weird. Whenever a Swiss Primo Capitano joins a force containing another Swiss Primo Capitano, or if scenario instructions dictate it, one Capitano is elected among all the Capitani in the force as the temporary Capitano General for that force. So The Swiss, it seems, can create Capitano Generals anytime they wish just by colliding two forces. Unfortunately, and that means they're more likely to get a major battle, right? But you may not really want more of these. I'm beginning to see that, hey, these guys are kind of your risk, actually. In this particular scenario, having more than one would really suck, because you'd be eligible then for the French to trigger a major battle against you somewhere else with where you have a weaker force and maybe knock you out. So, at least in this scenario, it seems like a dangerous thing. Anyway. Anything else special here? The Swiss troops are considered reliable. We only use the left side of the map, which is pretty obvious when you look at the scenario. I mean, even if that was open, I would be setting pieces up, setting up cards and stuff over here. It's pretty obvious I'm not going to use that. Okay, we have some special rolls. Beyond that, the Swiss force in Novara can't change orders for the first 2 turns. On the 3rd turn, it automatically gets an attack order. During the first 2 turns, if the Swiss side passes during the activation phase, the French are still going to get 2 activations if they want them. They gotta hurry to take this before things get bad. Regional alignments don't count for anything. The French are the first player, and bang, we are ready to go. And I'll start later because I'm ready to work. Things open up with not a lot to do. 1 French force on the board. All the Swiss that can move are on reinforcements. These guys aren't allowed to do anything for a couple of turns. So let's just get rolling. And, you know, it's just, what do I have for movement allowance for this force? It looks like a 5. That's the standard. French artilleries will move faster than everyone, than the Venetians were. I don't know if everyone. And, you know, we just count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my first activation. There's no one I can really roll against or anything. I don't think. Right, how are the Swiss ordered here? I guess I can roll for a 0. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what happens. So, I have an initiative of 4 here. They have a 0. The French get to go first if they want. They'll be at -1 movement allowance because that's a high roll. So I'm going to force it on these guys. And they're at -4 movement allowance. Wow, those Swiss units are fast. They have 6 movement points. I think that's enough that I can dig myself a level 1 entrenchment. And that is my only activation. So now the French don't have to roll because the Swiss are finished. So now I do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my first activation. I want to get on the move. Oh boy, I'm moving through a lot of swamp here. This is going to be a painful attrition roll though. But this is not a fortress, so I don't have to pay to move through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be second. And then we're going to have the attrition roll, and we're in a bunch of nasty terrain, aren't we? 1, 2, oh, this isn't bad. So I've only got 3 out of the 4, but I'm in a I'm in a marsh. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so I've got an attrition roll in addition to the double movement, which forces. You know, I've screwed this up. Second activation is +1 for each movement point expended. I expended 5 movement points. Ouch. So that's not actually during the activation phase. I think I messed that up last time. 8, 9, 15, 21, 30. Looks like 32. That's going to put me down here. And with +5, I'm going to take some hits. I don't really want to take the 3 hits, do I? Or 5 hits. Jesus. Oh well. This is what I hate. This is the decision making that in most of the Zucker games I hate, which is on the forced marches or whatever, you know you're going to take some losses. And it's just so hard to decide, is it worth it? So I'm taking 3 losses. I've got to spread this out among units. 1 there, and I'll take 1 here. I don't want to hit my elite cav and whatever. But now I also have to worry about the end of turn attrition, which is a possible effect here. I'm sitting in a marsh, which is unhealthy terrain. I may be smaller now. I was at 32, I lost 3, I'm at 29. I'm still on the same chart. I think I don't... See, now this is different. Yeah, no. Okay. I'm just having trouble reading. So I have no pluses this time, so it's a little better. But I do roll a 5, which hits me again. At least I can take this on my crappy unit. And that's kind of painful. And now we push here into the next turn. And I think the first thing that happens is that the reinforcements actually get placed on the board. We could change orders, no desire for that, so I find where the reinforcements go, and this is all pretty standard stuff, right? I don't know why I'm doing this here. This will be showing a 40-10. Well, yeah, I'll find the 2 units and put them on the board. There's a sequence of play on the back of the rule book. It's not as helpful as being on a chart because you may have pages that you want to reference while you're looking at the rules, which is really kind of the big problem there. What would I have suggested? The optional battle rules might have been better spent there. Anything else that I'd really... some of these tables, because they're single lookups, flipping through the rules to get to them might not be that terrible. The unit type effect summary might have been better there. I find this the more useful thing, and thus worse to have it, and the thing that you're most likely to reference into the rules from, I think, although some of the combat tables and stuff you'd be doing that. But at least it is present. You can make a quick photocopy of this and have a single sheet, which I should probably do. That would probably make my experience a little happier, although then I have another sheet here, but... Okay. So, we had the initiative roll, and the lower roll went to the Swiss. They were, I guess, picking Basel. It doesn't really matter which one. And they want to go because they're going to get a positive value, and they'd be handing a positive value to the French. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know what? No reason to go into the swamp at this point. Because if I don't want to force march, and I probably will, but if I don't want to, I don't particularly want to give myself an extra attrition. I don't want to force my hand here, so we'll hold off back here. We do have to worry about the river crossing on bridges, don't we? I think secondary bridges may have a cost. Maybe I'm wrong. Secondary bridge does have a minor additional cost. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're fine. This time we got high die rolls for both. So let's see. Burn is at -3 or -2. We're going to hit Burn with the -3. That means he's only going to have 3 movement points, so slow him down a little bit. And I kind of have to use it. Now comes the question of, do I want to keep rolling? I get no advantage by not doing so, except I won't have to take the initiative check. And I think I will for Burn. Now he's at 1 off his initiative because he's gone before. Let's see. Okay, the French got a big roll, which means they're at -1. Whereas the Swedes, or the Swiss, are fine. Now here's my options. If I force the French to go, I may not get another move with Burn. So I think I'm going to move them, and I'll take the attrition for that, I guess. 9. Now, I just moved into here. I have an attrition that was burned here. I'll spend the extra movement to get rid of the admin march. I have an attrition check. I'm at +1 because it's a secondary activation. Oh, how many movement points did I spend? I don't remember. Shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Say 10. I think. So that's +5 to the die roll, but I don't have a lot of troops here. However, I roll enough to take an attrition casualty. Now we have another situation here. I just moved another Primo Capitano into play, which means we randomize who's actually in charge. So Burn over here has moved in with these. Now, I think that doesn't happen until the consolidation phase, but I'm not positive. You see the Swiss special roll again. When he joins the force, that won't be happening until the consolidation phase, which is not quite yet. So we're still here, but not under admin march. We're all in the same hex. And we'll put that here. And now we make another roll for activations. The Swiss are again just a 2. Okay, so here's my choice. Here's the fun choice. So at a 2, I can move full speed with these guys, or I could hand it off to the French. And the French will be getting 3 off, which means that they'll only be able to move 2 movement points. That sounds like a good idea to me, so I'm going to push it over to them. This might mean I don't get a march here, but that's okay. I'm in the general region. And there's no fortifications here. These are just normal towns. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2 movement. Now he's in kind of unhealthy territory still. He's walking through a damn swamp. I'm going to put the dice over here. I think I got to check on something. Definitely want to contest the French roll because otherwise they get a full move for their next march. But do they really want a full move? See, they're in maneuver. I'm going to have to change to attack. And in some senses, this was kind of a... This is one of the weird things in the game. I can march halfway here, but I can't on my second march go much further. On the other hand, I am in kind of crappy terrain. See, I can't move adjacent to these forces because I'm not in the attack order. If I had been in the attack order, I might not have made it as far as I wanted to. Might have been a mistake not to go into it, though. I might have been able to force march my way up. Oh, well, live and learn, right? So, either the French can deny the Swiss another move, and I think that's for the best because I don't want the Swiss getting in there. So, we can get rid of these. And then we have normal attrition check, and the only place I have to worry about that is the French. Who are sitting in barren land. Not unhealthy, but barren. I believe the effect is the same, right? Barren and unhealthy, it just means you need to make a roll. I got no other modifiers here. I don't remember how big I am. I think it was in the 27 to 34 range. So we just make a roll. Get a 4, we get another hit, and we'll take that off of our weakest unit. And that should be about the end here. So we're going to pump the turn marker, and more Swiss are coming in as reinforcements. I forgot about the consolidation phase, and I had to jump back to that. Graf is now the Capitano General of the Swiss force. Bern is unemployed here. I've got Mutt here. Mutt would be the guy I would clearly want in charge, but hey, that's what happens when you elect leaders. We got new reinforcements up here, and let me see if there's anything else exciting. We have our orders change, and remember, orders come for free in this little scenario. And we're going to change the French to an attack order. I really should have that. He's got to come out of the march, the administrative march for that. He may have had to spend an extra movement point. He didn't have it. See, that's the problem I have. He's in administrative march. I'm going to leave that here just so that I can see if that's the case. These guys automatically go into an attack order. I don't know why I have the garrison on top of him. But they all have to take on one order. Set there. And I might want these guys in an attack order too, just so they can join up and fight. Oh, but they're in this stupid admin march again. That's this. Halifax or Hollisfalls. Hohensacks has to stay in. Let me see what's up with these admin marches, because I think I've got to spend a movement point to come out of it, but I think I can take the order at this point to be on an attack order, even though I have those in play. It doesn't really talk about that, but another thing in the stacking and consolidation, two or more minor forces coexisting stack, they had different orders, maneuver and garrison. I'm not going to worry about it in this scenario too much, but normally I think what would happen is the primo capitano in the space would keep his orders. Again, that's not really clear, and I'm not sure if part of the force is under admin march. That's another issue that's a little weird here. If we look that up, let's see if we can find it. Movement, regular, administrative march, 7.7. There's no movement point cost to remove it. So I think I could probably remove it as part of the conjoining with a unit, and I would say if some units are in administrative march and some aren't, those that aren't would leave. So in this case, since we're not going to be able to move with admin march, I'm going to remove those. That is somewhat disturbing, though. I'll tell you why. Because these guys were in admin march at the end of their move, and they should only be able to modify during their movement phase, I think. And that's what's kind of disturbing. The problem is, if they remove it during their next movement phase, they don't get any more movement points. And that would also be disturbing, and I think that would violate the change in orders, the effect of the change in orders. So I guess they're deploying for battle here instead, or at least to a better movement phase. Again, I'm not sure that, I don't think this stuff is covered in the rules, and there's a lot of words in these rules that makes it difficult to really wade through everything there. So I guess we're going to go to the activations, and this is kind of the exciting part where we're about ready to hit the battle, and it's going to be pretty important here. We had fair weather. I think we want Basil to be my engaged officer versus Tremoli here, just because of the higher initiative. Although Hohensax might be even more interesting. We'll trigger him instead. We got even. I think that means first player gets to choose, but I gotta look that up. First it would go to a bonus star. Neither one has a bonus star. So then after that, actually, I'm not sure of the order. It may go first to initiative, but they both have the same initiative. Neither has a bonus star. Instead, they just re-roll completely on a tie if they get through. And the French have the advantage here. They get full movement. I think that means I'm going to engage. 1, 2, 3. I can't just move through here. But with 3, I've got 2 more movement points. I can start to entrench. And the reason I want to do that is on the off chance that I want to launch a siege. I think it's more likely I'm going to do a skirmish. But I don't think I have enough movement points to attack into here. Actually, I do. So, see, what I may want to do is just a brush aside attack, because if I can get the space, that's kind of victory. Let me think. Again, we come to crazy shit, right? I moved into the zone of control of the force to be attacked. The owning player declares attack from March. Hidden Kapitani revealed, and a skirmish procedure is immediately applied. Okay. Can I be in the city? I don't know. If I was in the city, I couldn't be knocked out of it by a skirmish attack unless everything gets demoralized or something or other. I'm not sure, because there's demoralized and disrupted, and I can't keep them apart because they come from similar things, I think. But maybe not. Disruption when crossing a river or storming a fortress. Any force becomes disrupted. So that's why you don't want to storm. Because if you don't win, you're not in any good shape. Okay. I'm going to say that he can defend in the fortress. It doesn't make sense to take that right away from him. So as soon as he declares that he's doing that, I think I can't attack anymore. So then I can spend my movement points to prepare myself for a siege, I guess. That's, I'm making up rules that aren't in here, but it sort of feels like it's not complete enough without that. So that's given me my first activation over here on Tremouille. And if the French pass now, Basil can move up. So I've got to make another roll for the French. Now that may be problematic because my French are already taking an activation. And we're getting blurry because we're dealing with the stupid Zoom screwing up. I might have to take an attrition check. Well, I'll have to take an attrition check if I win one of these. But I want to roll. What does he want to do? He wants to play that unit again. Maybe force the French to go. Oh yeah, the French are going. So they have -3 movement points. That's 2 more. That's enough for them to fully fortify though. But they have to make an attrition check. And we were in the 30s there. We only spent 2 movement points. That's all we had. We were around here. I don't know if we're still there. 1, 11, I hate counting. 20, 25, 26, 27, we're barely on there. And so we're at +2 for action. We get a 7, which means we're going to lose 3. There's 2. Guess there's the 3rd one as our troops are melting away. And that puts us to 2 activations. The problem with that, of course, is this guy can't take a double activation, but had he done so, that's this guy over here, he'd be looking at -2. He'd only get 4 movement points. So I'm fine, I guess. I don't know if I want to launch the major battle or not, because I might be able to get this into play. Let's see what we can do, because we're just going to reinforce Basil up there, and we're going to bring this as far down as we can. I need a break before I go to the combat phase. This may be the big battle. But before anything happens, Basil's got to be consolidated. In order to do this, I roll another die. I've got 4 leaders now, any one of which could become the big guy. Let's see if we can not roll a 5 or 6. All right, so now Basil's in charge. He's going to be my Capitano General here. And one thing with the Swiss is they can have multiple of these commanders very easily compared to other forces, but they don't get sort of the freebie for having, whether it's positive or negative, for having the highest ranked commander not selected as a Capitano General due to like losses or whatever. So this guy loses his command rating. He's just part of the force. And now I've got to reallocate all these forces in the best way that I can. And I probably want to keep the number of individual commanders low. Certainly if we're doing skirmishes, I do. But we're in a position for major battles. So I'm not positive that that's the case, but I think that I still want to keep big hitting units available. Not positive. So the situation we have here means there has to be, well, there might be an attack. And since we both have the same initiative, it's random which one is going to attack. Odd, or which one's going to have the highest initiative. Odd will be the Swiss. Okay, so the French have the highest initiative, which means they have the first possibility to choose. They could make an attack, but they could also compel the opposing force to attack. Now, forces don't have to attack, though, if they're in a fortress hex or behind an earthworks hex site. And both forces are behind an earthworks. So here's the question. Do the Swiss want to launch an attack right now with the weaker force? See, basically, neither side wins if nothing happens. We're going to have a major battle. The question is, do the Swiss want to launch an attack right now, or do they want to see if they can get this up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With a rush, I could probably get, with really good rolls, I could probably get the additional forces. So I'm going to hold off. And now the French have the option, do you want to launch an attack or not? Now, the Swiss, geez, if they're not inside the fortress, can get the advantage of their earthworks. So I think they're going to receive. They will accept the French attack if the French are going to attack. And because we're going to do a major battle, because otherwise this scenario kind of doesn't make any sense at all, the French will attack. So we're going to set up a battle, and we'll start doing that. The first step in this is reorganization, which allows us to do a reorganization stage so we could pick how many corps we have. Now, I don't know whether or not it's good to have many or few. I have the feeling that a couple of smaller corps is still better than a bunch of, or a couple of larger corps is still better than a bunch of smaller ones. And here I'm only allowed to have 4 units. Here I'm allowed 3. If I transfer the weak infantry in exchange for the artillery, I think I get the best possibility. The problem with that is I'm putting the cav, which I'd rather have in my main shock force. So I'm going to have an artillery force, and maybe this will go in the vanguard. I'm not sure. I'm going to leave these guys out. For the Swiss, I have a bigger problem. I have these 2 units, which are both strength 5. They have to consolidate. I'm not allowed to have, this is an optional rule, but I'm not allowed to have these guys here. So instead, I have a strength 10 Swiss. And now I look at my strength, and I've got to put something with my Capitano General, and I can't put everything with him because he's only rank 2. So I'm not quite sure what to do here. I think what I'll do is I'll split my forces somewhat evenly into 2 infantry forces at 10 strength points each. I don't know how good. To me, it looks like there's a problem with having less units in terms of them being more likely to break or something. But we'll see how that works out. I would think the big heavy Swiss formations are actually an advantage. That is the implication in the designer's notes. So we finish that. Now we go to the initiative. And we will each get a number of chits. So we each roll a die divided by 2 and add this to the initiative of the Capitano General. So, which way do we round? Round up. So we're going to get 4 chits, and he's going to get 6 chits. In addition, the Swiss are going to get 4 earthworks chits, just as a bonus, because they're on the defense in that earthworks terrain. So we'll grab these. And we're also going to get, well, we get our 4 chits and we get our 6. And I'll try to figure out what I want to do there in terms of my pit. Each Capitano can only have 2 chits. So what I've chosen here is to give an artillery chit over here to my Grand Capitano. I'm going to give him the formation chit to allow me to form a vanguard, and I'll put a charge and a coordinated attack here. I might have wanted more commands because it gives me more flexibility. Hey, live and learn. Here, likewise, I can only give 2 to each, so 2 of these earthworks are just wasted. I'm going to give each guy an earthworks. I have coordination and a muster. I'll give coordination over to Mutt, so that maybe he can join in an attack. And the muster I'm giving to Basil. Muster allows me to kind of fail the battle. I don't really have any other real choices here that I can see that work. I've got a listing of all the different abilities, and none of them seem terribly interesting. So there, we've put our battle initiative stuff. Now somewhere over here, I have this all set up here. Now it's the deployment of the Capitani, and this is when I'd be playing the formation chit if I'm going to play it. Now who goes first? The attacker. The French are the attacker. I've got to kind of remove my leaders from the board because they're going to be necessary. And this is going to be important, so I'll put this near me. I guess we'll face it kind of like that so that I can put the French on one side and the Swiss on the other. And the French are going to put the Capitano General over in the main body. And now the Swiss. Well, the Swiss can only play to the main body, but we don't really know that. So I'll take Mutt and I'll put him in the main body. I'm going to reveal my formation chit, and I think, let's see, kind of learning as we go. Let's see if we can find the chits. I had them a moment ago. Combined arms firepower. Oh, jeez, I had this one not. Wait, not coordination, right? No. Formation. I think this is just triggered. I don't think I can do anything with it, and it goes away. And that will allow me to put my dude over in the vanguard, and then the remaining Swiss will go here in the main body. Alright, that's the deployment. And now we're going to swing up to the Vanguard fight. And I'm going to take a little rest. Well, let's start with the Vanguard fight. First, resolve artillery fire. Well, Travolzu here, or Trivulzio, doesn't have any artillery. He doesn't have an artillery chit. He does have a cav charge, though. And I'm allowed to play a cav charge, I believe, against one of these enemies. Now, I don't know what strength they have, but I'm going to assume Mutt's got the lesser strength, because I know Basil's the commander-in-chief. So let's see what this does. We're playing the cav charge, and we regroup into waves, each of which has to be combat units or similar. Well, we only have one unit. So we're going to play this. That goes there. The charging player selects a single eligible enemy corps and a single combat unit to be the target of the charge of each wave. Okay, I guess at this point I do get to know what I'm facing. And there's only one target there. Displace the charging corps near the charged corps. Well, I guess we'll go over to here. Have a certain level of engagement there. Not in contact, and count all SPs of the charging cav in the wave. We got 9. Consult the cav charge table. This is why I don't like procedural rules, because I can't figure out what I'm doing. I just have to do it and then learn by screwing up, basically. I don't get an image, you know. Okay, so we have 8 or more cav SPs. We're not in a heath or hill. The charged unit can play the Earthworks River, and I shall do that. That gets us a -1. The weather's good. These are Swiss. That puts me to -2. It's not a flank charge. I'd have to have engaged it something else. Heavy cav troop quality. These are heavy cav. So I get a +3. So now I'm at +1. The opposing player does not have firearms in his unit, so even if he had the chit, he wouldn't be able to play it. He didn't choose the chit because he didn't. So I'm at +1, and I roll 1 die. And it doesn't look like a very good table. I roll a 3, which ends up as a 4. It looks like that has no effect. So, that is our charge. Now, that went through the entire sequence, and it wasn't very impressive. Now we get to do a Vanguard engagement. And let's see how that happens. Artillery charge Vanguard. As per 11.42. An engagement is a contest between opposing where one can distinguish between the attacking. Simplest way is to engage to face contact with the enemy corps in the section of the battle roster. In every engagement, one side's... Oh, let me check the cav charge. Because when I played it, the cav charge is removed from those and placed on the battle roster. It is removed after the charge is executed. So, there goes my charge capability. And that, I think, is for the whole battle, because the chits only get placed in this battle initiative segment. They don't get recharged anywhere that I know of. Maybe I've missed something, and we'll see as we go through. Okay. But I was hoping to break things up there. So, engagement. A corps which issued a charge may be obliged to engage at the discretion of the charged corps player. Well, he could declare, I have to engage. I've got 8 strength points. This has 10. I don't particularly wish to, but I believe the Swiss will force me to. And they can do that even though they're in their earthworks here. They haven't lost their earthworks. They can still force me, stupid zoom, to attack. Okay, so engagement is over here again. Where 11.42. Is that where we were? Probably not. Well, it's 14. Okay. And the engagement begins with the Capitano with highest initiative, then descending. Okay, I'm the only one in the vanguard, and I'm being forced to do so. I cannot disengage. The resolution is going to be using the assault table. And the engaging corps is the attacker in this case. Coordinated arms. Can I use that? I believe so. So this is played to the vanguard or main body fight. It allows the terrific power of cav and infantry shock. This can be played by an engaging corps. With undemoralized, it must be played before the roll. The chit is removed from the Capitano, put on the battle phase, and it'll be removed after the attack is executed. Okay, and we're engaging. Alrighty, so now we're going to go to the assault table. I believe we're in normal terrain. We would be in affecting, I think, if we hit the fort, but I'm not sure. I remember something that said that, but okay. Nobody's disrupted. Nobody's got any penalties there. Strength point ratio, we do get to add these in. So we're at 817. Oops, we have combined arms. Okay, so they're at 9. Oh, we got to count this. 9 and 4.5. It's 13.5. Plus infantry are doubled, so we get 16. Maybe we didn't force them to. Okay. And that's that. Let's take a look at the earthworks. What, if anything, that does. The chit will not be removed unless I engage. That's the active attack. It protects from artillery fire, cav charges. We had that. And it can force the affecting table. Okay. So that's all it does there. Now, notably, I don't believe I get the defensive benefit of the earthworks in terms of the 2 times multiplier that I would normally get. So I have 29.5 against Mutt's 10. That sounds like 2 to 1. So I get +1 die roll modifier. I'm the larger force, I think. No leader bonuses, nothing here. But we have Swiss. We're defending. Nope. It's not a siege. We have earthworks and we're this. So we get an extra -1. That cancels this out. If defending in earthworks, okay, this is. If attacking a force in earthworks, they get a -1. If defending in earthworks, it's a +1. That sounds like a bad thing, right? If attacking and not affecting. See, we are defending and it's a +1. That, I think, is bad. Of course, what's weird here is these sound. I think you reverse these if if you're the smaller force. Yeah, subtract if the defender has the larger force. Okay, so this is actually a bonus for the attacker that these are Swiss in defensive terrain, because thus pikes don't work well in that. Maybe that was goofy. So what were we at? We're at +1 for this. This is if you're attacking. Looks to me like we're just at +2. And the force quality differential, our force 9, we can use the 3 table. And he's using the 3, so we're at 0 in affecting terrain at +2. And we get a 3. That looks like the attacker takes a hit. And they're going to have to make a discipline check. Well, I can take the hit on anything. I'll take it on my crap, I believe. And now I have to make a discipline check. And I have to look up the type of discipline check. I believe this is against quality. Okay. Because it's combat. So my quality was it's per unit, and I just roll 1 die. This is all. Those don't help. I don't think there are any modifiers. So here we go. And we roll a 6, which is not good. So our 3 unit double F'd. If the affected unit has more than 3 SP, it loses 2. And otherwise, it would be a D result. I don't know what FF stands for. Fully fucked, I guess. Now, we have units with a 2 and a 1, and they both get D. They'll be demoralized, and that, I believe, flips them over. Now, I've got to look up the effect of demoralization. Okay, so the overall effects of demoralization. If half or more of the units or the strength points. Jeez, that's weird. It says half or more demoralized combat units rather than strength points, which means I'm screwed in that case. I may not select an attack order, can't enter an enemy zone of control, I don't exert a zone of control. When all units are demoralized, the force, if attacked, has to retreat before combat. I think the strength points don't count in combat, but I'm not sure. Yeah, they cannot be used in combat. Okay. It gets an immediate retreat order once it's reduced completely. And it can't initiate combat. Okay. So that's that. And now, that is the end of the Vanguard fight. We go to the main body fight, which is going to work the same way, except we have more units in it. And I need another break. This kind of thing will become kind of, not second nature, but I'll become more comfortable with it and be able to fight out the battles. But right now, I just have to follow the cookbook because I have no idea what's going on. My chit picks and everything. It reminds me of Axis Empire, which is one of the worst games of this type, where you play it and you're just kind of like, okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've got, a rule that says I can place support here. Great, Until I've played through a couple of battles, I have no idea what that's going to mean, As opposed to, if I look at something like the OCS here, in particular, I played Burma. I don't know where it is. It's got to be down on the lower stuff, I guess, but I don't see it now. Maybe it's over there. Yeah, there it is. The OCS game I played, well, there you're like, well, I'm not sure what the effects are, but I know if I hit with artillery, here are the things that can happen from it, etc. It's all explained in the rules. There's a motivation for taking actions. This is somewhere in between. It's not like Axis Empires. But man, it's good to give motivation. And with the amount of wordiness these rules have, they could give a lot more motivation. Then again, Axis Empires manages to be pretty wordy, and it just reads like a giant cookbook. Now we're in the main body fight, and that works just like the Vanguard fight. If an enemy has unengaged corps in the Vanguard, corps in the main body may fight against them. But the Swiss don't really want to come out of here because of the earthworks. Although, honestly, the earthworks are kind of a mixed blessing for the Swiss because they have a penalty due to the pikes, but they do get the shift for affecting terrain. So, I don't know. Let's see who has to go first, though. So we have to find the who has to go first rule, which is buried somewhere in here. How did we get that? Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah. I had that before, and now I don't remember it. So, I thought they alternate chits. Alright, so now we have to find the rule of who is activated first. Who gets the first option to activate. Maybe I was confusing it with the engagement rule, which we did go through. But now that we're in a situation where two people at least have the ability to play chits, I don't know which one gets to or must go first. I think they're essentially played simultaneously, but they're done in steps. So first we have to deal with the artillery fire. Alright, let's test out what our artillery fire does. So we're going to drop this here. This combined arms is gone now too. Coordinated attack. Okay. So only one side has artillery, and he picks a corps to be target of the fire and the total amount of SPs, and then looks on the artillery fire table. Okay. Well, I have 3 SP. I'll soften up the guys I'm going to hit. And I think I'm allowed to shoot the artillery twice, if I'm not mistaken. Place on the battle roster. The second shelling may be in a subsequent battle round. Okay. So now we look for the artillery table, and there it is. And we said we have 3 strength points. We have earthworks, so we take a -1. And that's it. And that's probably not going to work. On a 2, we might get hurt. So we roll a 3 -1 is 2. We lose one of our cannon. I'll put it here for now. It's not a breakdown unit, but, well, I gotta put it somewhere where I can remember to destroy it. Okay, so my cannons did not do anything, and they probably can't. I'd need to roll a 6 for that to have worked. Now I have the option to engage. And we go to the engagement declaration. Highest initiative has first choice here. If more Capitani share the initiative, the attacker, the Capitani with a bonus star decides. So here's the deal. If I don't engage with the French, because I only have 1 unit in the main body, I lose the battle. So, since the Swiss are already engaged here, I think they're okay. So in we go, and we handle an engagement once again. See if we can find what the steps for that are. First of all, we count our strength. Well, do we have a chit that we want to use? And We had engineers. We could have used engineers. Damn. I think they can be used here. Let's look them up. And again, you know, once you learn all these things, that's fine. But the actual play of the game involves looking up all your things. So in an attack, I can use them to improve artillery fire for besiege. Okay, that's no good. I think they only work in sieges. Okay, you would have hoped maybe they could decrease the earthworks or something. Oh well. So we add up our strength. Well, we suck. We only have a strength of 4. And we're hitting this one here. Well, we can't attack this. But we also can't lose the major battle, because if we lose the major battle, there goes the game. So putting something in the vanguard was a mistake, and I was afraid it would be. Maybe it's not if you have lots of units, but when I only have a couple of corps that I positioned, and I had other leaders, it becomes a problem. But if my corps are weaker than the enemy corps, I'm going to have trouble unless I play the coordinated attacks and stuff like that. Okay, well, we're hitting here against 10, and we have 4. 4 to 10 is essentially 2 to 1. This is the larger force, so that counts as a +1. It always counts as a +1. We're defending in earthworks, which cancels that out, and that's it. But it is affecting terrain because of the earthworks. So it's essentially 0, but this counts as the larger side. And we get a 5, which means both sides take a hit, and the smaller side takes a demoralization check. Well, I guess we can take it off the bigger unit. He's got to take a hit. And now he's going to make a demoralization check with his 2 quality units. He rolls a big 5. Any modifiers here? I don't think so. So he gets an F, which is if the unit has more than 2 SPs, it loses 1. Otherwise, it's a D. Well, this loses 1, and these 2 are now disordered guns, which means I think they can't fire. Now, I'm not sure the guns are affected because they weren't attacking, or because I was attacking, but I don't know. I'm tired of looking things up. Maybe I'll find out in some other battle. Okay. Now, I don't have to make this attack. I'm not compelled. And are all corps free in the MB? No. If they had been, that would be on both sides. That would be both sides lose. So, resolve all engagements. We did that. Maybe we shouldn't have done that first. Both sides have 0 corps in the MB. No. Only one side has 0. One side only has 0 corps in the MB or played muster. No. But I think this would count as 0 if it was disordered, because it would have to retreat. Begin from the attack or play reserve chits to come back, and now we swing back around to the vanguard fight. And those engagements are set in stone, and unfortunately my cannons were knocked out somehow. I'm going to make sure that that's the case. I'll look it up, damn it. Because it would be nice to be able to take my artillery chit again and fail to do anything good with it. So, artillery can't be selected for casualties unless there's nothing else available, but they do suffer the discipline checks. So my cannons are knocked out. I'm not going to be able to shoot my artillery. Okay. Now we're at the vanguard fight. I'm stuck here. He has no additional chits. These guys, the only chit that they have a coordinated attack in case one unit breaks. so I could hit with both, and a muster in case I want to lose the battle. You might ask why you would want to do that. Well, in this scenario, you probably don't want muster. The French, though, if this was a longer scenario that had other effects, would probably want to muster right now. Their battle situation looks hopeless. They're not allowed to disengage from the places where they're actually fighting in the field. I might have mixed views on that. For example, a cav charge, an all cav unit could probably disengage. But infantry, pike units and stuff, they have a really hard time getting out of position in the field, out of an engaged position in the field. And if you've watched any of my musket and pike scenarios, you'll know, it's really hard to get away from the enemy if you play it out by the rules. Okay, so we have the vanguard, and we're stuck as the engaging unit. And all we have here is 7 cav hitting Mutt's 10 infantry. That makes Mutt the larger force. I don't know if I remember the thing was kind of balanced, but not so much on the affecting terrain. Oh, but here's what sucks. I'm on the affecting terrain, but the larger force is the Swiss, so they're kind of hurt by the affecting terrain modifier somehow. I don't think as much thought was put into this combat system as should have been, when this is one of the real highlights of the game. And I think there's more than one place where this is the case. So what would you do with this? I just don't know. I really don't know. Because it is by the larger and smaller force, right? Or am I mistaken here? Upper results are the attacker. No, it's not. Okay. So why would they be reversed? Because they hit the attacker harder, right? I don't know. All right, so the upper is the attacker. We screwed that up before. Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. And I, of course, run my mouth. That's what I'm doing, though. I think as I'm playing, and you get to hear me make stupid mistakes all over the place. Okay. So 7 versus... That's right, it's not a... 7 versus 10, that's going to be at even. The Landsknecht create a penalty for the earthworks, though. So defending in the earthworks would normally be a +1. It's going to stay that, right? These don't get reversed. Okay. It's only this that gets reversed. Okay. So here we go. So we get a 3. A 3 is the attacker takes a hit and has to make a morale check. I can't take losses off my demoralized stuff, so we go here. And we flip over for a discipline check at 3. And we roll a 6, which is double Fs, which means we lose 2 more strength points. And we're disappearing quickly. Now we go back to the main body fight. This attack has to keep going. I can't fire off my artillery. So now I've got 2 strength points against his 9. That's 4-1. So we're going to have a -2. But we get a +1 for the stupid earthworks. So we're at -1 on the affecting terrain. Here we get a 5. Both sides get hit. And the weaker side has to, the Swiss have to make the morale check. So we're going down. The Swiss morale check, we don't worry about the quality of, we worry about the quality of their troops, not the sensitivity or whatever the hell it is. Reliability. Our quality in both cases, oh no, these guys are only at 2. Wow, we want to take losses on them, damn it. Okay, So 6, we had no bonuses there. Extra wages can only be used on recovery. So 6 says we have a D. So these guys are out of the fight. And a double F, which means we lose 2 strength points. And now we zip through all these checks and we're back up to the Vanguard fight. Alright, let's just keep playing it out. What the hell? 4 strength points of Cav, hitting 10. That's the 2 to 1. So we're going to have a -1. But that gets canceled out by the Earthworks. Wrong type of units in the Earthworks. And we roll a lousy 1. That's going to give us a 1D. Now, here things get different. 1 unit is demoralized, and we take a hit. We have to take a hit. This is demoralized, and we have to make a morale check. But those guys aren't in combat anymore, so I think I've just routed. Okay, time to look things up. Is there a pursuit or something here? Actually, I think these are taken care of after both battles are declared. So I shouldn't have done this until these guys were actually engaged. Whatever. So we don't really fight the Vanguard first anyway, so we can go elsewhere. But these guys go in the demoralized box, which means these guys are going to be free to operate next time. But oh shit, I got the wrong guy. No, Tremuli gets to make another attack. Must make another attack. He's got 1 strength point against looks like 5, so that's a -2. +1 for pikemen in the wrong place, so we're at -1 on the affecting terrain. Oh, I haven't been worried about force quality here. These guys are only 2s. These guys are 3s, so we're actually on the -1 force quality. We get a -1. The attacker takes a hit. Well, there goes his last unit. And I'll just put away the artillery finally. And he's got a demoralization check, but it doesn't matter because his force also is demoralized. I can clean up these counters for artillery, and these actually don't matter either. Wow, I forgot to put the Earthworks. I've been taking it into effect, so don't worry too much. Okay. Now we have the after effects of this, which is we have to execute a retreat. The units must move their full movement point allowance, and I think they have to go back towards their headquarters. So we'll put Trevulzo back as a subordinate, and Tremuli, well, his movement allowance of his combined force is 4. It's gone down because he's weakened the unit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe I'm thrown into a retreat order. At the result of that. The Earthworks are gone. They can't be captured or anything. Okay, so I lost a major battle, so I believe I get a retreat order. I'm not positive of this. Retreat into a fortress. Retreat and garrisons. A force with a garrison order which ends its retreat out of a town or city gets a retreat order. No. Yeah, I think I get to keep my same order. I think that's going to change because everybody's demoralized. And now I've got to look for the pursuit effect. I'll be back in a little bit. All the Zucker games have a pursuit in them. This one has a more normal pursuit. The others actually use a normal CRT, but like the casualties you inflict on the loser are limited by the pursuit. Mistaken. There is no pursuit. There was no, the attacker lost, so the defender just stands in his hex. We don't have to worry about that. And the pursuit is only assessed against you if you have, if you retreat through a zone of control. Now, we only have one turn left. This scenario is over because the French are going to have to do something to get themselves into a recovery position. They're sitting in a town, so they could go into garrison order. And if we were playing with the full rules, I think that's free. I'm not positive. That's over here. Yeah, garrison would be free even for a major force to change to. But there's not going to be any opportunity to fight because the entire French force is disordered. What we're going to do, though, is I am going to play that other turn out. So let's see where we are in the sequence of play after the battle. Joint consolidations. Okay. Multi-hex forces or multi-force hexes are consolidated. We're already consolidated as it stands. Remove disruption. That's not this. That's not the demoralization. Disruption is what happens when you cross a river or storm a castle. Attrition. Okay. This is the only thing in attrition. He's in a swamp, so he's going to have to check for that. And we find the attrition table. There's no special penalties for that. So we have 6, 10, 12 strength points. Puts us here. I get a 2, which isn't going to hurt. Okay. And then I think we move this. Now, this video has taken a long time because I went into a lot of detail on the major battle, but I'm going to keep going with it just because I want to do it on one video. So bear with me if you want to see the next 15 minutes of it or whatever. Myself in another issue. Over here we had Landsknechts attacking into earthworks, which would have been a penalty. And we actually had Landsknechts, I just didn't recognize them. That's these French here. Again, though, you know, mistakes happen. Okay, you know, we, in the first, the Venetian Venice at Bay scenario, got to see how things start on a turn. We've got fair weather again. Technically, maybe this would be a yellow turn and all markers would be removed. The only real option here is, do I want another major battle? Do I want the Swiss to come attack? And I don't think so. I think we've seen everything we can see of this scenario. What's going to happen with the French, they don't have to get rid of their attack order, but it's damn foolish for them to have it. Normally, if this was a yellow turn, as it is there, but this scenario doesn't really deal with the APs, so I don't know. We'd go to a previous attack, and then if we wanted to continue to attack, we'd have to force. But here we'd just be moving into a garrison so that we can recover for the turn, and then our action is actually recovery. We've not done that, so I'm going to jump to that. If I can find it. Alright, I'm going to have to look at the rules again to find that. Recovered demoralized combat units, see paragraph 9.2. Now, when does this happen? It's during activations. And I think, is it just automatic? No, they make a check against the morale check. And we look at the reliability in this case. So, in this case, the reliability is VRS. S, and these are R's. Okay, so we have kind of a little of everything except N's. What are modifiers we have? We could spend our movement points on the recovery check. Well, we don't know what we're going to have for movement points because we've got an initiative here. But let's say we got all of our movement points. We'd have 4 for the army, so that gives me plus 4. And that's probably it. And that would be pretty good, actually. With a 7, I'm going to get a D star. Wow. Well, that kind of sucks if that's the case. Oh, I'm not expending movement points. I could spend wages. I have an infinite number. So no. So I don't remember what I rolled. So let's roll without the plus. That's movement points you expend if you're doing a recovery check. So I get a 3. And I get F's for the V's, which aren't going to help me. But I get P's for the N and R, which is going to recover the unit. So this and the artillery recover. Now, consolidation, I could actually probably get everybody into one space. I have no real desire to try to deal with the Swiss coming in. So we're going to call this the end of the battle. The Swiss won because they won a major battle. If there hadn't been a major battle fought, it would have been a draw because nobody was going to dislodge them from Novara here. All right. That's 2 down. I think we'll probably be moving to another one right away tomorrow, just because I don't know what else I'd set up in between battles of this. I don't want to do a CWB or something like that in here. I have some things that I want to do that are smaller, but I kind of want to... I'm interested in comparing deck builders, for example, but I don't really have the opportunity to do that easily in the midst of something. So up this goes.